Cheryl Dennard. I live at 711 South Court Street. And I'm here as a concerned citizen about the utility bill. I was here a month ago, and we had the same issue, and the county clerk said there would be another problem this month, and we've seen it. And I think several people out here are bearing witness to that. There was a lot of current concerns that we brought up last time. It wasn't a gripe section, it was concern. We knew that the bills were high, we knew we had bad weather, and we came here saying what type of relief would be offered. And I think some of the things that were mentioned were about doing things at the national level or looking for money. I think it was misunderstood exactly what we wanted. We wanted relief. It's nice to have relief from outsiders, but we were looking for relief from our representatives here. What could you do as a council to give us relief for these bills that are being posted upon us? And I went back and did some research also, Mayor Brown, and you talked about MEAC and doing an adjustment and stuff like that, and I did some research on that. And I found that you, as a council, you have a right, or you have the ability to set the rate. They give you a suggested rate for the electricity, but you as a council at any given time can adjust that. You know, like in a lot of industries, you have to take a loss sometimes just to keep the business, and I think that was one of my concerns when I said that we were in a crisis here. Well, I said, I think I used the word state of emergency, and that we need some type of relief. And I was hoping that you would come together in your mind and work and think of some kind of way that you could have gone and you could have said, we'll give the electricity, or we will provide electricity to these hardship months at cost. That would have been a relief, you know, at cost could have been recalculated for that. Possibly the late fees, that was the thing. The $450 doesn't do anything, like I said last month, but when you add the $36, you keep adding that on to a bill that's already out of your budget, that gets to be expensive. And I was saddened today to hear the answer to some of the concerns were for the 30 people out of the, how many people do you provide electricity to in the city? Approximately 2,200 people. 30 people have reached the maximum, you know, in these 30 days, and you're saying, okay, but those 30 people will still charge you late fees, which you can control. You have the authority to monitor that, and we're going to give you a. I guess it was nice then you're going to go back to the February bill, November bill, and let them pay that towards a down payment per se on their upcoming bill. But what about the other ones here that struggled those 2 months and didn't ask for an extension and said, we'll struggle, we'll pay it. But we're here now because it's the 3rd month and it's no better, and we're still struggling now. They have not reached it, they have not exhausted. Some of them probably never used an extension at all, and they're not being, I don't want to say compensated, but they're not being, I don't think you're being as understanding or sympathetic to the cause of those that didn't have to apply for those extensions, those emergency extensions, or have not applied for them yet, to say only that population, 30 people out of the 2,200 that you serve, or receive some type of assistance from you. That's my concern, that there are some options that you as a council could have considered, or still can consider, to lessen the impact that we're having in our homes. Another concern I have, and I've taken several bills and I've calculated, and because on the bill it's not stated how much we're charged per kilowatt or however you're doing it, it's just how much you use, this is what it is. I took several bills and every single one of them is charged at a different rate. That's an area of concern for me. That, I don't care if it's 30 days, because it's the usage and the amount that you pay for, that's what you divide by, which you calculate to how much you're being charged for that kilowatt, and every single one of them is different. That's an area for an investigation right there. You know, that you're not being consistent, everyone's getting charged, and I like to see, I've seen several, I want to see more. And I'll get a list together for you if I have to, but we've got to file a complaint on that. Because that's evidence that the billing is not equal, there's discrepancies in the billing, and we can't have that. And I know you've talked about the equipment being old and all that, and you're saying it costs so much to update, but it seems as though we're paying the cost of updating now without even needing to update. If it's not working, it's not calculated correctly, and I feel we're not being billed accurately, we're paying for it anyway. And that just cannot be. That cannot be. We've asked before, you said that you've had trouble with manpower, and you've got an antiquated system, you've got one person walking around reading these meters, which I think is 2,200 is impossible in a billing cycle. You made a comment earlier that the north end of town is just now, where's your exact words? They're reading the cycle for January. We're already into March. So I'm not quite understanding that, when I think my bill is caught up, that side of town could be that far, you know, in delay. There's a problem with that. You know, that we've got to come up with a system with that, and I feel we're having to bulk the price for that. That's not acceptable. I want to ask that you reconsider the relief that can be offered to all the citizens of Quitman, because, you know, doing 30, that's being selective. Like you say, you don't want to wait the fees, you want to do this, that, but you chose to do 30 people. I have no idea who they are. That's all you're providing kind of relief for. You thought they needed providing the relief for. And how many of you out there did extensions? Anybody? Okay, we've been showing up every time. Nobody else did extensions. We struggle with paying our bill. We're concerned that there's been a relief from that. The late fees is something that's local. It's not the amount that you pay for the service that they're charging you from me at. That's something you've attached locally. It's $4.50, and then it goes to, is it $36.40, $34.50. You know, $40 extra. You know, and because of a 10-day difference. That's something, if you're saying you understand the bills are high, and you sympathize, this is the time to show us, our elected officials, you know, how much you really sympathize. You know, like I said before, it's almost getting to the point where it's too expensive to live in Quitman. You can move here, but you can't stay here. It's getting too expensive, and at some point we're driving out not only businesses, but we're driving out individuals. You know, because they can't afford to stay here. And it's not because they don't want to stay here. I know with the weather, it's an act of nature, and you can't anticipate these increases, but I'm just saying we're at the mercy of our elected officials to do something to give relief. And like I said, when you had tax breaks and things that happen on the national level, here in Quitman we can do it too. It might be unheard of and you hadn't thought of it before, but sometimes in times of crisis you've got to come up with whatever it takes to put relief where it needs to be. For us to get back to the economy, we got to get back. You can't just be the city the only one profiting from this, and I think at some point you have to take a loss in order to gain eventually down the road. But that's my thing is, and I think that you need to reconsider, I'm asking that you reconsider providing assistance that is available to more than just 30 people in the city of Quitman. That really is a problem. I said again about the different billing system. You know, that can be tolerated. We have to know, and I personally, I know it might be a problem now to get it on the billing, on the bill, what am I paying for each kilowatt, but if it's posted on the website or somewhere so I can calculate to make sure, as far as the meters. I've had people tell me that, because we had a little tag last time, go out and read your meters. We're reading meters and we're getting different readings from what the meter, what's being turned in and what's been seen on our bills. And we have problems with that too. So those type of issues have to be eliminated, investigated, and we're just putting you on notice that we're going to have to file a report about this unequal billing here, because that just is, that's a concern. But I really would wish that you would consider looking at a plan or relief that would entice all citizens of Quitman. Even those that have paid their bill or plan to pay the bill later for some other reason, it needs to be something that's encompassing of all. To come here and say you vote on something that only, not even a tenth, not even a tenth, 1% of the total city population is going to benefit from, I don't think it's fair. I really don't think it's fair. And other problems that we've talked about before, and I want to follow up on that, as far as I said giving electricity, not giving, but maybe during those hardship months, fluctuating the rates, what's that cost? Listing the pillow, I want to know how much I'm paying or supposed to be paid, or how much everyone's being billed that month for the kilowatt hours, because it's not consistent, so that's got to be upgraded. And I think the proposal, the motion that you passed earlier, should be extended to all customers for the month of March. That's something to think about. And my other question is too, in this process, we're having these concerns. I know some of us have gone and called individual representatives and voiced their concerns, but I guess in my thinking, I think the board acts as a whole. Are we to bring it to the board to act on? I mentioned that because the question I need to know. Oh. Procedure-wise, is this the time to bring it here so the board can hear it, as opposed to individuals? I guess in my frame of mind that individuals don't carry any weight. You know, they don't carry any weight. The decision can only be made as a board, collectively. So is that correct in that?
As far as I know, no.
I mean, in your, you talk about your, what do you call it, your charter?
Yes, that's right.
So you'd be bought here. So when comments have been made in the public saying that individuals could have made a difference but have been bought to them, that's untrue? I mean, me having a conversation with Mr. Walker is not gonna, he can't say, Nancy, we're gonna change this. It's a collectively a board decision. I'm not board, I'm saying board, but I mean a council decision, right?
Well, you on the board, you know how a board works. We don't have to tell you. I mean, seriously, a board has to come in here and vote and listen to everything and vote accordingly.
Okay, that's, I just want to clarify, because some people were having a misconception that certain people, you can go talk to certain people and make it correct and make things correct for you. And I was under the impression that if you, that it needs to be held before everyone, no one has no more power than anybody else. That's what I need to understand. Okay. But again, like I said, I'm here speaking for the ones in the audience with these continued high utility bills, and Genesis put on us notice next month it's not going to be any better, that waiving for 30 people has not made an impact on the city of Quitman. And I think at some point, if you're going to be fair and want to give relief, you need to give relief to all the citizens of Quitman. Whether they take you up on that option or not, some may want to go ahead and still pay the bill as they are, but at least let it be there and be equal so everyone has access to it. Thank you.
Does the council want to address any of these issues? I am searching. I am talking to people, and I'm going to. I haven't given up yet. So.
Well, Ms. Brown, as I say again, you're looking for outside help. We're looking for inside help. These people here are our elected and appointed officials. We're looking for help from here. We don't want a savior to come down and, you know, and make all this right in Quitman. We need to do what we can do in Quitman for ourselves. If you could do it for 30 people, I find it very offensive that you cannot do it for everybody else. You know, if it's good for 30 and you're saying we can make these waivers and these modifications for 30, why aren't you doing it for the entire? That's a problem I have. And then when we go back and look, and we can see now that we're not even billed on the same rate, there's some fluctuations and discrepancies in the billing, it really sends up red flags.
Now, I was not aware that, I was under the impression that everyone was getting charged the same per kilowatt. I'm not saying they are, I'm just saying, is that...
Your rate structure is based on usage. So if I use, hypothetically, if I use 1,100 kilowatt hours, there is a rate for that amount, just like all the other utilities. The more you use, or the less you use, the rate changes. But it is across the board for everybody in the city, and your rate is based on usage. So if and again, hypothetically, if you had an electric bill and it showed 3,000 kilowatt hours, your rate would be different than my bill at 1,200 kilowatt hours. And that is standard in the electric community. And that is your rate structure with the city that y'all heard. It does fluctuate between usage amounts.
Are these fluctuations, are these posted anywhere on our?
Yes, sir. They're on the rate structure the council passed. Yes, sir. They're on your electric rate structure. And as y'all recall, back toward the end of last year, you had a rate study, and your gentleman from ECD is coming back in to speak with you about enacting that new rate structure. And that has been something y'all approved, and we're moving forward with the winter rates, summer rates. And but yes, your rate structure, just like all utilities, is based on usage. And that price does change when you're in those blocks, where if you use a certain kilowatt hour here, it changes as you move up that way.
Oh, what I was asking, is this information published?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Where can they get this information?
Janice has the rate structure. I mean, it's an ordinance. It's basically your rate structure.
Okay.
Yes,
Do we have a place on our website to put this?
We can put it on the yes, sir.
And that is right, what Ms. Dennard said. When you look at a bill, if you're comparing a kilowatt hour usage to another one, there would be a different rate applied there. Sometimes it's cheaper, sometimes it's more expensive, but it's based on the usage.
Okay, you had a concern about one person leaving, one person leaving on 2,200 meters. What kind of turnaround does it have on leaving the meters?
I can't answer that. I would have to, the turnaround, you mean how many does he have to?
He doesn't read them by himself. We have another employee that reads also during the month. We have one full-time meter reader, but we have employees in the gas department that also assist in reading.
When do they assist reading? Why they assist every month at a certain time, or when
They
just a certain
assist
number
now.
when needed?
I don't handle that department, so I'm not sure what their schedule is, but